Honourable Speaker, these diseases, they are climate-sensitive diseases. And certainly after the major cyclone with the water tables being up, the flooding, it is very common that they can actually cause outbreaks to happen. And this has happened very significantly in the past. In the flooding of 2012, we had more than 40 deaths from leptospirosis alone. We've had dengue in some years that were up to 30,000 of our community in Fiji about 10, 15 years ago. Up to 30,000 had dengue. And numbers such as 3,000, 5,000. This year is so important for us, not necessarily because we want to obliterate outbreaks, but certainly because we have this pandemic of COVID-19 that's lingering offshore. And because it's lingering offshore, this year is also about vaccination. One thing we do know about the vaccination for COVID-19 is that when somebody has a vaccination, he or she may not necessarily be infected with the virus, but they can still transmit the virus. And so it is also a very vulnerable time when we begin our vaccination for COVID-19. Honourable Speaker, one of the proxies that we use for our surveillance for COVID-19 is fever. And I discussed it in my ministerial statement today. But fever is also caused by leptospirosis, typhoid and dengue. So what we intended to do was to work very hard with NDMO during these times of the emergencies that have been declared, to try and obliterate all the possible outbreaks from happening, so that when we actually have minimized this to a certain level, and then we begin on this large-scale vaccination program we begin this year, if God forbid we have fever that pops up in the community, we know that we are dealing most probably with COVID-19 and nothing else, because we work very hard to try and reduce the likelihood of an outbreak. So what we have done is, even before Tropical Cyclone Yasa, there's been a very strong public health awareness that's happened both in the media, whether it be printed, also on social media, working with the commissioners, working with the Turangani Koros, the ROCOs, the PAs, the DOs, and also the district advisory councillors on a daily basis, working with them around the awareness campaigns that were being done. You may be aware that, Honourable Speaker, that at the middle of last year, in between the lockdowns, there was also TC Herald and the many cleanup campaigns that have happened since. Well, since Tropical Cyclone Yasa, we concentrated on the north, but we had the comprehensive work done all throughout Fiji. Our northern teams, working with NDMO, began the initial assessment, the initial awareness straight after the cyclone. I went across with the FEMAT team just before Christmas, and they spent 3 weeks there. They were based predominantly, there was a team in Nambualu, a team in Moinunu, there was a team set up in Nakorobatu, and we had 2 teams in Lekutu. One of the FEMAT teams was specifically looking after the COVID-19 quarantine corridor that was made possible for HMS Adelaide when they came into Fiji. And the other team worked with us. So basically what happened was there was a comprehensive screening of all the communities on Honolulu, beginning from one end all the way to the other. We did Thakundrobe in 3 days. I was there personally with the teams, beginning on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd, all through the communities and villages and settlements in Thakundrobe, and including Maduata. We went across to Rambi and walked through the whole island of Rambi. It did many things. It identified those, and this is something that we saw with Tropical Cyclone Winston, Honourable Speaker, that many people from the trauma of the cyclone, they were sick or injured, but they just decided to stay at home. Or they were sick and they were injured and they were more concerned about making sure that they had their roof over their head, more concerned about getting food. So we picked them up from the community. We brought them across. There's a great story about a lady who was basically gasping for air in Rambi, and we saw her, picked her up, got her evacuated quickly to Lambasa, and now she's back home in Rambi, and she's well. So we picked up those who were sick, those who were injured. That's the whole aim. The other thing was actually working with the community leaders in identifying hotspots, getting it sprayed, so our health inspectors did spraying. We also talked with them about what we wanted in terms of moving forward in terms of reducing the sources of leptospirosis, typhoid, and dengue. With Tropical Cyclone Anna, because it involved the whole group, we also ran this program where we now we have a team in Nambualu because of the difficulties of access. There's a hospital team that has operative capability in Nambualu. There's a hospital team with operative capability in Sabsabu. There's a team in Rakiraki and a team in Singatoka. And apart from that, we've also sent minor teams into other areas. So there's a team based in Andaribatu. There's a team based in Korowo. There's another team based in Nabua. There's a team based in Bunindawa. And there's other teams elsewhere that have come from the hospital system. The hospitals are a critical mass of staff that we can repurpose to be able to push out on the public health campaign. Honorable Speaker, just before I sit down, I just saw that the Meteorological Office has just sent out a statement says it is another tropical disturbance. And I'd like to remind all of us today that it may seem like a never-ending fight, but we must not lose hope. Though we have these climate-sensitive diseases, though we are faced with this climate change and the disturbances that it brings us, but we must work together to ensure that we keep these climate-sensitive diseases obliterated as much as we can. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Minister.